It all started with a single post. Please give my warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States of America. Donald Trump's words, posted on Truth Social, shocked the world. But here's the question. Was he serious? Or was this just another one of his famous sarcastic jabs? You see, this wasn't just a random rant. This came just after a massive, show-stopping military parade in Beijing, where China flexed its military muscles in front of the world. And guess who was there? None other than Putin and Kim Jong-un, together, on the world stage. A spectacle that seemed to say, we don't need the West anymore. But Trump's post? It sounded like a warning. A potential reveal of a secret alliance between these three power players, Russia, China, and North Korea. Is this the beginning of something bigger? Something the US can't ignore? Stay tuned, because what happened next might just shock you. Section 1. The parade that sparked it all. The world watched as Beijing hosted its most extravagant military parade in history. A grand spectacle to mark the end of World War II in Asia, but it quickly became clear this wasn't just about commemorating the past, it was a bold message to the future. Under the blazing sun, the streets of Beijing were filled with an impressive display of military might. Sleek, high-tech drones soaring through the sky, tanks rolling across Tiananmen Square, and intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, towering over the crowd. Even underwater drones and lasers made an appearance, hinting at China's latest advancements in warfare technology. The sheer scale of the display was enough to send a chill down anyone watching from the West. But the parade wasn't just a flex of firepower, it was a political statement. Xi Jinping, China's president, used this moment to remind the world of China's growing influence on the global stage. The message? China is no longer the country it once was. We won't be intimidated. We won't be pushed around. And what better way to underline that message than by inviting two of the most controversial leaders on the planet? Kim Jong-un from North Korea and Vladimir Putin from Russia. With their eyes on Beijing, this wasn't just a parade, it was a statement that China, North Korea, and Russia were growing closer. And that, as Trump would later say, might just be a conspiracy brewing against the US. But was the world ready for this kind of challenge? And how would the West respond? Section 2. The Authoritarian Guest List. Now, this parade wasn't just about tanks and missiles, it was also about who showed up. In a bold move that sent shockwaves through the international community, Xi Jinping invited two of the most controversial leaders in the world, Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un. The optics? A carefully orchestrated display of unity between three of the most authoritarian regimes on the planet. It wasn't by chance that these leaders were there. The symbolism was powerful. In a moment when the US and its allies were ramping up sanctions and condemning their actions, here were Xi, Putin, and Kim, standing side by side defying the West. The message was loud and clear. We don't care about your pressure, your sanctions, or your influence. We are united, and we are strong. For Putin, it's a chance to show that Russia isn't isolated despite its invasion of Ukraine and growing international condemnation. For Kim Jong-un, it's about breaking the isolation of North Korea, showing the world that he's not alone in his defiance of the West. And for Xi Jinping, well, it's about sending a direct challenge to the United States. China is taking the lead, and the West's power is in decline. The image of these three leaders together, watching the parade, was more than just a diplomatic photo op. It was a clear statement that the global order was shifting. These three countries, all with histories of defying Western influence, were aligning themselves not just militarily but politically. It's hard to ignore the optics here. China, Russia, and North Korea, standing as one, challenging the West. And in the middle of it all, Donald Trump was already weighing in on what this could mean for the future. Section 3. Trump's explosive post. Just when the world thought it couldn't get any more intense, Donald Trump took to Truth Social to weigh in on the Beijing spectacle. His post read like something straight out of a political thriller. Please give my warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States of America. Now, this wasn't just some casual remark. Trump, as usual, was playing a dangerous game with his words half praise, half warning. On one hand, he was acknowledging the unity between the three leaders, seemingly admiring the strength of this new alliance. But on the other hand, he was sounding an alarm bell, warning that this could be a serious threat to US interests. The Post hinted that something deeper was happening here. Was this really just a parade, or was there something more sinister brewing behind the scenes? As you can imagine, the reaction was swift. The Kremlin responded by brushing it off, calling Trump's words an ironic joke. But were they? In the midst of escalating tensions between Russia and the West, a sarcastic comment from Trump might not be so innocent. After all, it's not the first time he's used his platform to raise eyebrows with provocative statements. So, was Trump genuinely concerned about a growing alliance between Russia, North Korea, and China? Or was he just stirring the pot, like only Trump can? The ambiguity in his tone left room for speculation, and that's exactly what the media jumped on. One thing was clear. Whether it was a joke or a warning, Trump had no intention of letting this moment go without making his mark. Section 4. Trump's Mixed Messages. Just one day before his explosive post on Truth Social, Trump was singing a very different tune. In a meeting at the Oval Office, he downplayed any major concerns about China's growing influence. When asked whether China posed a real threat to US global leadership, Trump seemed unfazed. "China needs us," he said, referring to the ongoing trade negotiations and the economic ties between the two nations. He even suggested that China was too reliant on the US economy to challenge it outright, something he's often emphasized in his past statements. For Trump, the narrative seemed clear. Despite the massive military parade, despite the power flex, China was no match for America's strength, especially in trade. But then came the Truth Social post. The tone shifted dramatically. Suddenly, Trump was claiming that Xi, Putin, and Kim Jong-un were conspiring against the US, an alarming accusation that seemed to suggest a rising geopolitical threat. This wasn't the confident, America first rhetoric we had heard just a day earlier. This was a stark warning, almost as if Trump was raising the alarm about a serious, coordinated effort against the US from three of the world's most volatile regimes. This contradiction raised major questions about Trump's foreign policy consistency. Was he simply caught in the moment, reacting to the spectacle of the parade? Or was there a deeper shift happening in his approach to global diplomacy? His public persona has always been one of unpredictability, but this back and forth left many wondering which Trump was the real one. Was he the pragmatic dealmaker who sees China as a partner? Or the alarmist who believes the US is on the brink of being outmaneuvered by a new alliance? The mixed signals are not just confusing, they're unsettling, especially for those trying to make sense of his foreign policy stance. Does he truly believe the US is in danger? Or was this just another example of Trump's knack for stirring the pot? Either way, it left the world wondering what Trump's next move would be. Section 5. Is the US losing ground? The implications of Beijing's Grand Parade went far beyond just showing off military hardware. Analysts were quick to point out the underlying message. China is no longer willing to play by the West's rules. With its powerful show of force, coupled with the symbolic presence of Putin and Kim, the message was clear. China is here to stay at the top of the global stage, and it won't be pushed around by anyone. But the parade, and the political optics surrounding it, have sparked a much bigger debate. Some experts argue that this could be the beginning of a significant shift in global power dynamics. As China grows more assertive, especially in the face of ongoing US leadership struggles, many are questioning whether the West's influence is starting to fade. The West, especially the US, has long been the dominant force in global politics. But with events like this parade, combined with a growing alignment between China, Russia, and North Korea, some believe the foundations of this dominance are eroding. There's talk of the rise of an alternative power bloc, one that seeks to counterbalance the West's influence and perhaps even reshape the global order entirely. China, with its economic might and expanding military, could easily take the lead in this new bloc. Russia, despite its isolation in the West, remains a key player in global geopolitics, especially in regions like the Middle East and Eastern Europe. And North Korea, with its unpredictable regime, adds an element of chaos to this alliance that might be exactly what these leaders need.